A very good afternoon to all present here. I, Vijika Pandey, on behalf of Atmaram Sanatan Dharm College, welcome you all to the second week refresher course on Indian folk traditions, a tapestry of diversity. We all know that folklores are conventional expressions of a society or a group of people in which folk songs, ballets, proverbs are transmitted from one generation to another. At times, in such transmissions, the folklores also get changes and modified depending on the place and atmosphere. Today's talk by Dr. Amba Pandey is about these folk traditions and how the indentured migrants who reached plantation colonies not only brought Indian religious cultural norms, but also brought folklores to the lost countries. Most of these folklores are in Bhojpuri language, since majority of the migrants were from the Bhojpuri speaking areas of North India. However, over a period of time, folklores got transformed and modified due to the contact with host countries, languages, places, and space. But before Dr. Pandey starts her lecture, let me just introduce you to her. And she is a scholar who has worked a lot on indentured labor. She is associated with the School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. She has received her M.Phil and Ph.D. from JNU. Her research interests include Indian diaspora, international migration, transnationalism, gender, women's studies. She's also been a visiting scholar of Amsterdam and Otago University. Dr. Pandey is a prolific writer and has many publications to her credit in both national as well as international books. And she has authored a book on regional security in Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Her edited volumes include Women in the Indian Diaspora, Historical Narratives and Contemporary Challenges. And
your voice is not coming.
It's not audible?
Yes, now.
Now is it audible?
Yes, it is.
She has also written a book on indentured and post-indentured experiences of the women in Indian diaspora and co-edited Women, Gender and the Legacy of Slavery and Indenture. Dr. Pandey has conducted major projects on the Indian diaspora in Fiji, Myanmar, and Southeast Asia. She has presented a number of papers in more than 50 international conferences and also been invited to lecture in these sessions. Dr. Pandey is part of the editorial board of several journals, and she is also the founder and editor of Migration and Diaspora, which is an interdisciplinary journal and is associated with international services. Ma'am, I now invite you to speak on this topic.
Thank you, Dr. Vijika, and good afternoon to you all. Can you all hear me, please? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm Amba Pandey, as Dr. Vijika told you, and my research interest is this area, diaspora and migration. Do you all, are you all familiar with this subject called indenture labor or migration? Do you all, I mean, some of you can put your camera on so that I will know that, okay, how much I need to. Okay. Okay, so some people are aware of this topic, but today I'm going to speak on indenture labors and the folk traditions of India. So I will not speak much on the folk traditions because you people already are in the process of listening to many lectures and you would be, familiar with the idea or the concept of the folk tradition in India. in a country as diverse as India. You know, I say it because we also carry that diversity in the folk traditions. But I will actually start with the indenture system. I will give a small introduction to the system. Also, see, migration is not, no, you cannot hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear
Okay.
you.
So migration actually is not a very unknown thing in the Indian folk tradition. If you see the songs that are sung in villages, migration is very much part of the, you know, the psyche of rural India, because large-scale migrations were taking place. But of course, this particular system of migration, which took so many Indian laborers abroad, was a bit different from whatever was existing. But migration was very much part of the Indian folk tradition. And you know, in terms of dances, in terms of music, language, in every way, migration, you know, remained as the part of psyche, the rural psyche. But in terms of indenture, this system was introduced during the 19th century as a response to abolition of slavery system. Under indenture, the Indian laborers were sent to far-flung British, French, and Dutch colonies around the world after signing a contract. The term girimit originates from agreement. And these laborers came to be known as girmitiyas because they were signing these agreements. So indenture recruitments from India started in 1834 and lasted up to 1924. Actually, we sometimes come across that officially ended in 1916 or 17, but the last ships and the contracts that were signed were being fulfilled till 1924. The people of Indian subcontinent had been migrating even before indenture, but under indenture, the Indian workers and laborers were transported in large numbers according to a structured model of labor supply along definite pathways and fixed destinations. This is very specific. That was, before that, haphazard migrations were happening to abroad also, to some extent, very small in numbers, but they were moving to Southeast Asian countries and other African countries also. But under this system, a systematic way, structured model of migration where the laborers were recruited along with women, and they were transported. So this was a bit different from what was existing earlier. So on paper, the indenture system appeared as a voluntary form of labor migration operating under a bond, which ensured a certain amount of income and basic rights to the laborers. Since the anti-slavery movements at that time were active, the British actually take a lot of care to project this system as a fair and genuine system on paper, at least. So, but in reality, the indenture system was founded on the remains of slavery and operated within the same mindset of the colonial masters and plantation owners. The plantation economy was based almost on the same pattern as the slavery. The transition was more in terms of technicalities rather than the practical application. As some of the scholars have written, the coercive behavior, the complete control over laborers, lack of proper food or living conditions, frequent deaths, punishments, whipping for a transgression, and several other attributes continued under indenture. The system was exploitative right from the recruitment to journey to settlement at the destinations. So these factors has to be kept in mind, because while discussing a lot of things in the present context, we tend to forget the context of those years when these laborers were going through this process. So I will just quote Professor Bridgelal here, just to let you know that how this recruitment began, and he writes that on September 9, 1834, around 36 impoverished, lost-looking tribals, Dhangars, were accosted by the recruiters in Calcutta and asked if they would like to migrate. Since the sojourn was for a limited period, the remuneration was good, and it was considered just off the coast of Bengal. So they readily agreed, for all of them were looking for employment. And they were taken to the chief magistrate, and he read out something to them. He said that they know they have already discussed the terms and conditions, and these 36 people put their thumb impression on the contract to sail to Mauritius, which is Mauritius. So it began with such a small thing. In reality, none of them actually knew what was they were agreeing to. But whatever, this system began, that this is how the system began, and then it was, these laborers were transported to many colonies all over the world. Let me also add here one thing, that the British had tried many countries for recruit indentured laborers. Many countries, China, Java, Indonesia, many countries, but all had failed. It was only Indian indentured laborers who could survive the tough conditions, and they made the plantations a successful economy for the colonial master. And seeing this, the Dutch and the French also entered into contract with the British to recruit these laborers. So, from Mauritius, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, Malaya, Grenada, British St. Lucia, Natal, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Vincent, Reunion, Dutch Suriname, British Fiji, East Africa, Seychelles, British Suriname, West Indies. I mean, these are some only few countries that I have named. They sailed all over the world. Now, most of the indentured laborers came from North India, especially from the impoverished regions of Chota Nagpur and Bihar in the beginning, and later the eastern districts of Uttar Pradesh. These districts were impoverished, and the laborers migrated out of need to need for employment. They were therefore not averse to taking advantage of this whole prospect of earning some good money. They were not. But actually, there is a lot of debate among the scholars whether it was migration through consent, or they were duped into migration. This is a big debate. But as far as I can see, in the initial phases, they might have been duped, but the system continued almost for 90 years. And we cannot expect that these laborers were duped for, for almost so many years. So information was there. There was a lot of discussion going on in the press about this system. So information was there. But the conditions in India at that point was so tough because of the famines, because of the social and economic policies introduced by the British, that many of them had no option but to migrate and look for a better opportunity. So this factor of this debate has to, sometimes we need to understand this, because both these set of scholars pull the reality to extremes. The fact is that some of them got duped and some of them signed knowingly because of the tough conditions that the British colonialism had created in India. Now, Hugh Tinker, one of the very major scholars, has argued that there was one, but only one difference between indenture and the slavery, whereas one was temporary and the other was permanent. So indenture was temporary because they were recruited initially for 5 years and then again extended to another 5 years. This fact, I think, is very important. This fact is extremely important also in terms of carrying forward the traditions that they had taken themselves from India. Because after 5 years or maybe maximum 10 years, when they became free persons, free laborers, although the conditions were still tough at the plantations, but they were free laborers. And they operated as free laborers, as free agriculturists, as free farmers, because small chunks of land were allotted to them by the British to keep the plantation economy moving. Not because in favor of the laborers, but because the British wanted the plantation economy to move forward, they gave these small piece of land. On these small pieces of land that these laborers got, the villages were set up, and almost creating a mini India kind of a thing, where if you go to these countries and if you see that, in Fiji, where I have studied very closely, it is more than 100 years now. And you will be amazed that the way they have preserved their culture, their folk culture, their language, and their every aspect of their culture. This is, and I think that indenture not being a permanent phenomena, after 10 years, these laborers were freed to live their own lives, played a very important role in helping them to preserve what they had carried. So this is a very important aspect, I think. So, but also, please remember that, unfortunately, for a very long time, the whole conversation revolved around the plight and oppression that the indentured laborers faced. And that is why the other aspects of their life, the successes, the triumphs that they had witnessed, and the culture and the language that they have preserved, or the identity that they evolved in terms of Indo-Caribbean, Indo-African, Indo-Mauritian, these facts, which are, I think, very, very significant, actually for a very long time took a back seat, because the whole conversation was revolving around the oppression, the plight that the indentured laborers faced. And actually, it was not wrong. It was a truth. But the fact is that they fought hard. Even women, they fought hard. They survived, and through education and other small businesses which they started after becoming independent laborers, they could actually ensure the future generations to be secure and made a space where the future generations could thrive, and actually it thrived. So this aspect should always be taken.
Ma'am, we can't hear you.
Okay, so this aspect should also always, so what I was trying to say is that as independent laborers, they created a space where the future generations could thrive. Okay, and that actually is a very, very important aspect of indentureship that now the scholars are taking up in a big way. For a very long time, it actually did not come up the way it should have been. But now the scholars are taking up, and especially the future generations of indenture. If you go and meet all these people, in lot of scholars who were the descendants of the indentured laborers are actually taking up the studies on indenture, not only to highlight the plight, but to also highlight the beauty, actually, which these laborers could create in the later years of their indentureship and the future generations especially. So if we go one by one, for example, what all survived. So the first thing was language. I mean, I'm very sure you all would know how Bhojpuri has survived in these communities. But if you go there and if you listen to them talking with each other, even the younger generations, mind you, which is different from India. In India, I don't see younger generations talking so much in Bhojpuri, especially the city-based. In Fiji, in Suriname, you will see that even the younger generations talking in their language, in Bhojpuri. But please also remember that what they took from here did not actually, like I said, their evolution as a Indo-Caribbean, Indo-Fijian was a very, very significant aspect. And as an Indian scholar, all of should take that factor into consideration while discussing them. Because unless and until we consider the creolization, the amalgamation of the two cultures that these people managed to survive into and managed to develop a dual culture which is rooted both in India and their host countries is amazing. And we all should look at their culture from this point of view. But why I'm saying this? Because I tell you, when I went to Fiji, I could not understand the Bhojpuri which they were speaking. And all of them were speaking. So it took a shape where the local conditions were integrated into it. Not only this, people migrated from Awadh region who were speaking Awadhi. They migrated from Bhojpur region who were speaking Bhojpuri. Some from Magahi, Patna side. Some from Vajjika and so Mathili. So many, when these people were migrating, all of these languages came together and some Fijian influence. All these languages came together to form what we call the Fiji Bath, the Fijian Bhojpuri. It's very different. I mean, if they speak fast, you won't be able to understand. Yet it is Bhojpuri. So this aspect is actually, I find it very beautiful because Bhojpuri also survives in Suriname, it is called Sarnami, and that actually has a different character than the Fijian Bhojpuri. Bhojpuri also survives in some other parts of, like in Myanmar. In Myanmar, because of the political conditions in Myanmar, they almost had no connection with India. Still, Bhojpuri survived there in quite an original way. I mean, at least I could understand Bhojpuri in Myanmar, but I could not understand it in Fiji and in Suriname. So there is a whole lot of diversity, and this is actually the beauty of this. If you take up this study on indentureship, please don't only study it from the point of view of India, that how much, please also study the integrated cultures that they have developed over the years by taking the local conditions into context, and that I think is a very, very beautiful thing. The other aspect related to language, which I would like to highlight, is music. I think music has not only survived, North Indian folk music has not only survived, but thrived under the indentureship. It has thrived. And if you go and see the kinds of music, again, I want to stress on the diversity that exists in all these countries of indentureship. Let's not put all these laborers into one basket and say that, okay, indentured laborer and Bhojpuri and music. No, it's a very, very diverse society, taking the local conditions into. And like some of the, I'm going to show you some clippings here, maybe at the end of my talk, which I have recorded in different occasions in different countries, and you will realize that the type is different, but it is very strongly rooted in the Indian folk tradition. Very strongly rooted, So that is one thing. And one of the things that that is there in Mauritius, very, very significant way of preserving Indian culture, is Geet Gawai. Geet Gawai tradition of Bhojpuri songs dates back to the year 1834 with the arrival of first indentured laborers from Bihar. It is sung by Hindu women from rural areas in chorus on pre-wedding occasions. Hindu women have kept alive and passed the tradition from generation to generation. Geet Gawai is a ceremony performed days before Hindu marriage. It is a combination of prayers, rituals, music, dance, Bhojpuri songs performed by women. Actually, now even UNESCO recognizes it as a heritage, this Geet Gawai tradition. The next type which I came across was Bathak Gana. Bathak Gana is a form of music which originated in Suriname by the Indian community. Bathak is a social gathering. It is a mix of Bhojpuri songs with other Caribbean influences. It is similar to chutney music, but different in the sense that it is the words used, the language used are very, are quite decent, I would say. I should not use the word decent, because then I'm trying to say that else is indecent, and which is not good, because for them, chutney music, which uses all sorts of words which we in India try to avoid, are something that they are very proud of. So I'm no one to say that what is decent and what is not decent. It's their culture, it's their tradition, it is what they have evolved. Okay, but Bathak Gana, which I'm again going to show you a clipping on Bathak Gana, which is that is quite a songs which are sung in Bhojpuri areas in social gatherings by men mainly, some women also, but mainly by men. And it is everyone sits there and they sing. This is the Bathak Gana. It is also popular in Netherlands, because a lot of Surinamese migrated to Netherlands and Canada, where these people migrate. And now it is popular in Fiji also. So in many countries, that I'll come later on, how this it got distributed all over the colonies, whatever they had. So this is interesting. The third type which I came across was chutney music. And one more thing, the instruments that are used in Bathak Gana are dholak, and harmonium. And there is one, you will see in the clipping that I'm going to show you. It is called jhaptal. It's a kind of stick that is used, jamtal or jhaptal kind of a thing, which is not so common in India. Again, it's very difficult. I asked them what is the origin of this instrument, and they did not know. So maybe it's a one of you can tell me if you know that it's a North Indian instrument, or it might have come from somewhere else. So chutney is another. Chutney is a music that actually some people think, they might think that it is not so good in terms of the language they used and the expressions they used, but that's their music, that's their culture, that's what they have evolved. So one thing is chutney music. Apart from these, I also came, say, in several colonies, I also came across the other crafts that are popular in Indian folk areas. For example, basket weaving. We know that basket weaving and pottery actually is quite popular, was quite popular at the time these laborers went. But the fact is that what I'm trying to emphasize more on how they preserved it. How it exists is a different matter, because now in this age of globalization, everything is all mixed up, and I mean, they continue it as part of their culture and not as part of the use. Initially, when they went there, they started weaving baskets and making potteries because they needed it. So mud potteries, like we see in Indian villages, and the baskets and all, it's very much there. It used to be there, but of course now plastic has taken over everything, like we also see in India. The next thing which I came across, which was quite amazing for me, was the embroidery. In Indian traditions, in villages, if you go, and especially 50 years back, or of course 100 years back, the daughters used to learn how to stitch clothes and how to make things, different kinds of embroidery. That was part of that culture, the North Indian folk culture. That also has gone there. It is surviving. I would not say thriving, but it is surviving. That is one more thing that I came across. The other thing, which was almost a vanished culture, but in the modern times it has revived, is called Gudna. Do you know what is it? Is tattooing. In traditional Indian villages, that Gudna was very popular at some point. If you ask your grandmothers, great-grandmothers, they would know. And actually, over the years, this art, this cultural aspect almost got over in the Indenture society. But so now we know that tattooing is in fashion. So all kinds of Gudna has again started in these countries, and they are actually continuing. Other than that, the practices in villages, which we have nazar utarna, and that mirchi, and we take 5 chilies and all that, all those traditions are very much there. It is very much there. I really feel that it is more prevalent there than in India. Many of them, Our problem in Indian context was that I think that, a lot of colonization and the Western looking ideas, हम जो civilized world देखते हैं, जो Western world है उनको, उस process में जो हमारे traditions थे उनको हमने जल्दी छोड़ दिया था. We left it, and not only we left it, but we found several of them as archaic. I'm telling you, 20 years back, when I went to Fiji for the first time, I was shocked to see that how much the small things that I had seen in my village in eastern UP was actually being taken pride in Fiji, which was not there in India. In fact, for me, it was a kind of revival of my identity. When I started looking these things, these small things which I generally thought that maybe this is too archaic to believe, was there in Fiji, and it was being taken pride into. This aspect was I have rarely seen in India, that whatever they have. For example, I also saw Nachania dance in Suriname. You people know that how this form of dance is actually is considered very low category, something very, something that is not meant for good people, and there is a huge class difference and all that in Nachania dance. But in Suriname, I was there in 2019 when our president, Mr. Kovind ji, Honorable Kovind ji, he visited Suriname. We all got the opportunity to go in the, there were 3-4 Indian scholars. We all got opportunity to go and attend the welcome, which was being done, was a welcome party that was given by the President of Suriname to President of India. And I tell you, in that welcome party, our president was greeted with Nachania dance. A man, Indian origin man, came and he danced in front of the president. So, for us in India, it was quite, I would say, shocking that how could this be? But I have seen in Indenture society that they take pride on whatever they carried with them, and it thrives. So these are some of the aspects that I wanted to touch upon while talking about folk tradition. I want to show you 2 or 3 clippings. One about Geet Gawai and 2 about Bathak Gana. The third clipping that I'll show you also shows how the local culture is integrated in this Indian folk culture. It is very important, like you cannot imagine how in Suriname, in Mauritius, even the Africans celebrate Chhat Puja. Okay, the same way the Indians do, so that is, so in the third clipping, you will see how the ethnic Fijian people also participate in the Indian folk dances and singing. So let me share. How do I share? Post only? Share. No, please.
You want
all participants? It says host only share, can share. Allow participants to share, okay. Okay, yes, it is coming. So please, you can ask me as many questions as you want. So I generally, there's some problem.
you can share. Is there a problem sharing?
Yeah, it is not showing. Okay. Share.
Just a minute, let me start.
Okay, just a minute. Share. Okay. Downloads. Okay, let me share this one first. Can you see? Is it?
It is not, it just says that
Oh,
you have shared this.
has it? Can you see
will
now?
have
Can you see? Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Your screen is visible. Download folder is there. You have to save that video.
You cannot see the screen? I can see.
we can see, just shows download. You'll have to click on one of the downloads.
Okay. Just a minute.
First you open the video, then
Okay. This is, I was thinking whether or not I'll be able to share this because these, just a minute, stop share. Okay. Okay. Now share screen. Okay, let me open the file first and then perhaps I'll be able to share. Just a minute. Just a minute.
You'll have to open the file first.
Yeah. Downloads. Yeah. So this is it. And Zoom. If I cannot share, I will show it on my phone. Okay. How come it is not showing?
Ma'am, can you send it to us? Maybe we can show it.
Actually, these files, I really had to work hard to download these files. They are video. Wait a minute, I'll try. Share. Yeah. Media player. Can you see now?
No, not yet.
Yes.
Now,
Our
yes.
screen.
Yes, now we can see.
You can. Yeah.
Shiva. They didn't say Shiva, they said Shiva. Shiva. Now this song is a whole story coming from Shiv Puran, and it has come down from the Shiv Puran, the Shastric knowledge, into the common knowledge of the people through their songs. And these women have carried from Bihar and UP.
So you can see this was one that I wanted. This is Geet Gawai. This is Geet Gawai, and this is Sarita Budhuji, who has worked on Geet Gawai, extensively, and she is, yeah, just a minute. Okay, so I hope you could hear. It was a very small clipping. Because it was not coming on my. The next is Baithak Gana. Okay. Just I'll I'm so sorry I'm taking so much of time. It has come?
It's not yet come. It's coming.
This is Jhaktal. This was Jhaptal. I don't know what is the origin of that instrument, which was a stick-like. Could you see it?
Yes, we could see it.
Huh?
We could see it.
Okay. So this was one that I thought was, and the last one that I show is a 6-minute clipping, and has it come on the screen?
Not yet, ma'am. Now it's come. Ma'am, the audio is not there. We can see the video, but not the audio.
You can see all the Fijians. These are Fijians. They are participating in the Batagana.
But the audio is not there, ma'am. It's only the video.
Ma'am, there is no audio.
Ma'am, can you hear us? There is no audio in this.
Let me forward.
Ma'am, there is no audio in this clipping. Ma'am, we could not hear the audio for this clipping at all.
Can I stop sharing?
No, ma'am, actually the technical team has done it from here, but there was no audio in this clipping.
Oh,
You can share it again, ma'am. So there was
okay.
no audio, it was just playing without.
Oh, okay. Let me once, because this one is beautiful, you know, that it contains that song, very popular in the indentured laborers, you know, the Relia Baron. I don't know whether you have heard it. Relia Baron Piya ko liye jaye. That's a very, very popular song that the indentured.
Share it again, maybe, because there was absolutely no audio. So there have been requests from
Okay, you could have to.
writing that no audio.
your screen sharing, and now can you hear now? No?
Ma'am, you can start it from the beginning, maybe.
Sorry?
You can start it from the beginning, ma'am.
Oh, can I show it on my phone? Can I? I hope
Yes.
it. Yeah, just a minute. I can show. Can you see it?
Participants are saying, ma'am, maybe they want to hear the audio, even if you can't show the video. They're keen to hear the audio.
Really? Acha. Just a minute. Let's see if this is working.
No, you will have to place the phone slightly on the left side. Yes, now it's visible. Yes, ma'am. But audio is not there again, ma'am.
It's not there? You cannot hear? No? Then I cannot, I don't know what to do, but I mean, here I can, I
Maybe.
don't know. This is a beautiful song. Actually, I wanted you all to hear it, you know. This Relia Baron is a very, very famous song. It's popular all over. Let's hope. I will again try to do it. Has the picture come?
Yes, the picture has come.
Yeah. Can you hear it?
No, ma'am, I don't think.
No?
It's again showing the video and no audio.
I cannot see anything. So I don't know. I mean,
The participant has asked for the name.
hear it. I will forward it. Maybe you can share with. But this song, this particular song, Relia Baron, Piya ko liye jaye re, Relia Baron, is a very, very popular song, and it is Bhojpuri song, a very, very typical Bhojpuri song. So in this video, you could see Rajmohan ji. He's a very, very famous singer from Netherlands. His Sajinda too, you know, who were all very educated, highly qualified people, you know, IT experts who are employed in big multinational companies, and they are playing dholak and jhaptal with the in Baithak Gana. They came all over from Netherlands. They were very, very chic, very very, you know, modern kind of people, and yet they prided so much on their folk culture that I mean, I have not seen that spirit in India. That's what I was trying to emphasize, and that's what I was trying to highlight. Thank you. That was my presentation. You can ask me questions.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a very enlightening session, and now we would love to take up a few questions. And of course, if we would have loved to see the clipping also, but unfortunately, maybe you can share that clipping with us and we can show
Sure.
the participant later.
Yeah, someone has shared Relia Baron. Yeah, this is the song and it's very popular. In every Bathak Gana, they demand for this, and in India, I have not heard it. Maybe because I hardly, but in several of these colonies, I have heard this, Relia Baron. And okay. Any other? Ma'am, you will
Ma'am,
Huh.
one participant wants.
Yeah, tell me.
A very good, what should I say? It's still afternoon, okay. Thank you so much, Amba Pandey ji. It was lovely listening to you. And, like when you were talking about the diasporas there, how they pride over their language and the language is so original. So regarding that, what I had to submit was, well, it's very, very obvious that the time when they left India, that was the language that they knew and they pursued it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in India, there have been several other changes. Like here, where whatever language one speaks, there are always these chances of code mixing and code switching, right? So there is an obvious difference between why it has been perpetuated to such a great extent and why here we have gone on to, like you said, like here we were influenced by Western that Western influence was there, so maybe that was one of the reasons. And here the multilingualism, the way it has happened, here when one speaks a line, even if there is a person who's been staying in Delhi, and when he speaks, this koi nahi, this Punjabi dialect, it comes so automatically, so this constant code mixing, code switching is happening in such a way. In fact, even if there is a Bengali person, who's been residing in Delhi, so when she or he speaks Bengali, that Bengali is always mixed with some, say, one Hindi term or maybe 3, 4 English words. So there is an obvious difference, and the same person who speaks Bangla in Fiji or Suriname or USA or UK will stick to what he or she had nurtured and grown on. Okay. So, this was like my observation and something that I wanted to submit. And second thing is, what is known about the diasporas is this cultural schizophrenia, they want to stick to whatever, they they had, and they want to treasure it in order to keep their sense of identity intact. So, because I've been, like pursuing diaspora here, teaching. Then one recent research I had done on Madhubani painting, like a folk art, how popular it is outside. In fact, one of my sisters-in-law who stays in US, she has pursued it as a passion, and she's so respected over there. In fact, the senator especially, invites her, and she's a very well-known name, because of her folk Madhubani art. So I think things over there are very, very different. And but of course, we cannot dismiss the fact that we must appreciate, our Indians, our co-Indians, who are there and they are pursuing the folk art so well. So thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you for your comments, and I really appreciate what you say. But what I would like to add in this is that, see, we are in our context, we are saying this Bengali and here and in Delhi would speak a different language. Think, in diaspora also is not a homogenized term, what we are talking basically of the indenture people who went more than 100 years back, and for almost 70, 80 years, they had no contact at all with India, but they had the local conditions to adapt to. So their challenge to preserve, I think, was greater than what we face in India. Okay, we have gone over a transition over the years, that is understood. They have also, but I think and sticking, I don't think otherwise, how would this amalgamation of cultures evolve? They are not sticking. See the chutney music. It is all calypso, the Caribbean music, So it's not that they have stuck to what. But I would certainly want to say that in this age of connectivity, globalization, we are very happy that they are connected with India now in a much more, diversified way. They come, they go. In Government of India has many programs to promote this connectivity and all that. But that actually has also impacted the cultures that they have preserved. So 20 years back, the kind of marriages that were happening in PG, in Indian PG, are not happening today. It's all Bollywood now. It's all the same kind of lehenga, the same kind of ceremonies, the same kind of, all the things that we see in Bollywood movies are there. 20 years back, they were actually 20 years, 30 years back, they were actually following what they had preserved. Simple marriages. Very, very simple, like in villages, in traditional marriages, if you see, they'll put aam ka patta, everywhere, and the dulhan, the bride would be in a yellow sari. That's what they were following, but now they are not. So I don't think that it's like it's a kind of psychological that they are sticking to their culture. No, they also change, they also adapt, they also integrate in local cultures to come out with new. But I think what they had originally preserved was beautiful than what they have now. I mean, it's all the same kind of lehengas and the same kind of things in marriages that we see in Delhi is there also, So this is what, the impact of globalization. But whatever, they are very strongly rooted in the Indian culture, Indian folk tradition.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amba. You answered this beautifully. In fact, my next question would have been about this, which you just answered, as to how much of that folk tradition they have been able to preserve with this modernity and globalization, and in which countries do you still find that they're still following those folk traditions closely out of those wherever there were migrants?
See, what
another observation has been made by another participant. Jyotsna has written, in Hindustani music, Jab Tal is the name of a tal, the beat cycle. It is interesting. This is also the name of an instrument.
Yeah. So have you all seen this instrument in India? This whole stick, and they really play it very well. It's a very, very integral part of the this Batagana, or even in chutney music, it is used in a big way. I don't know. I have not seen that instrument, and I think that is there. So, what you say that in which country, there are different things that they have preserved in different countries, For example, in Caribbean, music is very prominent. They have really preserved. I mean, the songs which they sing in chutney, I think, are lost in India also. And an Indian might find it very archaic. All sorts of terms are used. But in Fiji, Hindi is one thing that they have really preserved. I mean, the way they fought for their language, and it is one of the languages that is recognized for the parliament proceedings also. So it is there in colleges, in schools as one of the language, and it's recognized officially also by the government of Fiji to be used as one of the languages in parliament also. So I think in case of Fiji, I think Hindi, preservation of Hindi, and Fiji Bhat, which is a mix of Bhojpuri and Awadhi and many languages. Actually, in one of my research, I tried to take the it's not a standardized language, so there is no grammar in this, So वो स्त्रीलिंग पुल्लिंग के अलावा बात करते, जैसे जाई गैला, अब किसके लिए यूज कर रहे हैं आप नहीं समझ सकते. So it's not a standardized language. But what I did was that I took a dictionary of Fiji Bhat, the Fiji Hindi, and I took word by each word and saw the origin of the word to assess that which language it is closest to. And I tell you, it uses the same kind of, the origin of words are same in Bhojpuri and Awadhi, and some from Fijian, some from English, some from other South Indian languages and all that. Also, one thing intriguing for me was that in all these countries, people migrated from Madras port, which means those Tamil Nadu areas, they have migrated, and Andhra areas. But South Indian culture has not survived the way the North Indian culture has. Maybe because of the majority of the laborers were from North India, but the fact is that even South Indians speak Fiji Hindi. That Bhojpuri kind of language is the language of Indian
culture, ma'am. In any of these areas, do you see any traces of South Indian folk traditions also?
In terms of food, I do. Food is there. South Indian food is there. When these laborers went there, the British had a definite plan for all the colonies. Okay, so the ration that was provided was same in all the colonies. So the recipes that have survived, for example, dal puri, and that dal. There is a dish, they wrap, there is a dal inside, and the cover is of rice, and they steam it. It is there in Indian villages also. I can't remember the name. Apart from that, gulgule and all that, the traditional Indian food is there. Apart from that, South Indian food is there, and still, there is a diversity from Caribbean to Pacific to Malaysian. For example, in Malaysia, South Indian culture has survived. It has survived. It has thrived, in fact. They are closely connected with Tamil Nadu still. But in Caribbean, in other Pacific colonies, I did not see any, apart from food.
Also, ma'am, in fact, it's a question that's coming to my mind, that besides Bhojpuri, which was largely popularized in songs, which other language do you think you can hear these folk songs? Is there a lot of influence of M.Phil, Awadhi, or it's mostly Bhojpuri in the folk songs?
No, Bhojpuri. It is mainly Bhojpuri.
The reason why Bhojpuri was largely popularized in these songs?
Because of the majority of the laborers who went spoke Bhojpuri, and the music that actually thrived in Caribbean. In Caribbean, mostly they were from Bhojpuri, So Surinamese speak quite a Bhojpuri, quite similar to Bhojpuri of India, rather than Fiji. Fiji has a strange kind of language, which is difficult to understand. But Bhojpuri, the Caribbean in Caribbean, the songs and the Bhojpuri is the popular language, and the songs also are actually mostly influenced by Bhojpuri. Yeah.
Ma'am, if you permit, that video you were saying is available on YouTube. So can we play it for the participants?
That particular video? No, the song must be there.
The song is there, ma'am. The song.
Yeah, song is there. Yeah, the video is a personalized.
That particular video is not there, but the song is there.
Yes, song.
So,
Please play that. Please play. Yeah.
जोने टिकटवा से सैया मोरा गई है, जोने टिकटवा से सैया मोरा गई है, जोने टिकटवा से सैया मोरा गई है, जोने टिकटवा से सैया मोरा गई है। आनी बरसी पानी बरसी, हाँ पानी बरसी टिकट डल जाए रे रिया बैरन, पानी बरसी टिकट डल जाए रे हार लिया बैरन, रिया बैरन। और जोने सहरिया को सैया मोरा जई है, सैया मोरा जई, सैया मोरा, जोने सहरिया को सैया मोरा जई है, जोने सहरिया को सैया मोरा जई है, सैया मोरा जई है, सैया मोरा सैया मोरा जई है, सैया मोरा जई है, जोने सहरिया को सैया मोरा जई है, जोने सहरिया को सैया मोरा जई है, आगी लागे।
Yeah, this is the song.
This is the song.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the beauty of it. If you can see, yeah.
In fact, it has a very, very folk tradition that they've still kept intact.
Yes, yes.
Which
And they preserve it, and
we have not been able to preserve it so beautifully as they have.
yes, yes. And my only what I observed, which was very significant for me, is that the kind of class difference we have in following these folk cultures, you know, and how the city people find it quite archaic, not, you know, that is not there. The most educated people, the most highly skilled IT diaspora also, you know, you will say, he will sit and play dholak and japtal and, you know, he'll sing. So that's quite unique. Yeah.
That's unique, and that may be also the reason why they have been able to preserve it so beautifully.
Yes.
Because there is no differentiation of class. Otherwise,
Yes, yes, sure. This is really.
any more questions participants can ask if they have any queries in their mind. A few participants have written, ma'am, it's a melodious song, nice song.
Yes, yeah, it is a very melodious song. Actually,
Prerna ji has written, she's from ARSD College. She has written, South Indian food, idli is celebrated as the best breakfast across the globe now. So
Yes.
therefore,
yeah, food is there. South Indian food is very much there.
Tara N has written, ma'am, that thank you so much for this lovely talk.
My pleasure.
Someone writes, ma'am, gulgula is Haryanvi food. No, I think it is also popular in UP and Bihar. Gulgula.
Yeah. And at least initially it used to be very popular, you know. So, but you know, food has really become very different in the sense of the use of masalas, which they, I mean, which the Fijians have or the Surinamis have, are different from India, you know, because it has also taken the local masalas into, you know, when they cook. So finally, the dish that is presented to you is quite different from what we have generally, you know, the home cooked, the kind of home cooked food that we eat here is different from there. But I visited Fiji this year also, I mean in May, and I found that in every nook and corner, Indian restaurants are there now, which was not 20 years back, which was not there. And the cooks go from here. Okay, in these.
Has also written it's Gulgula is famous in Rajasthani also.
Yeah, it's kind of kadhi, right? You know, every state has kadhi and they have different ways of making. So
Forms
that,
of,
yeah.
And that the dish that you were talking about, we call it dal pithi also, which
Dal
is stuffed.
pithi, yes, it is dal pithi. It is dal pithi. Yes, yes, it's very popular there. You know.
It can be fried or it can be steamed, both ways. But it is quite popular even in UP and Bihar, both places.
Yes, yes. And actually,
It's a different form of what we have, momos kind of stuff now. That
yeah, a momos kind of stuff.
So, different.
Actually, it was not so popular now, but they have.
Ma'am,
Okay.
since there are no more questions now, can we just end the session?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a wonderful session, and you talked so beautifully about the migrant laborers and how, with their interaction with the local populace, there was basically cultural intermixing of not only songs, food items. You talked about marriage practices. You talked about tattoo, which has become so popular now. And this all of this leads to an evolution of a very unique culture that has developed there. And it was a very, very enlightening session, ma'am. And I would also thank our principal, sir, Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, without whose support and guidance this FDP would not have been possible. It was his idea to have an FDP on these folk tradition. I would also like to thank our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Vinita Tuli. She has always been guiding us and behind all the sessions that we are conducting. And last but not least, our technical session, Dr. Amit, who was sitting next to me, helping me out with all the technical issues that I was facing. And also to my lovely participants who have been interacting constantly on all the upcoming sessions. Also, I hope they would be participating and making it more interactive. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.